Welcome to the Mindcraft Podcast. My name is Kimberly Quinn, and I am here with the amazing, the wonderful Johanna Derbolowsky. And I will tell you that Johanna and I met in our mastermind group and became fast friends very quickly. She's amazing, and Johanna's going to tell you more, but for right now, I'm going to introduce her as a transformation in business and life coach. Johanna brings psychic awareness and quantum shifting to help her clients align with their purpose and excel at their businesses. So, welcome, Johanna.
Hi, Kimberly. It's so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I am so excited. And I have to tell you, I had a recent experience with Johanna where she worked some of her skills in this stuff, and wow, I mean, it was I saw changes pretty immediately. So I just want to say that right away. So perhaps, Johanna, you can help our listeners. We can start you off with explaining to them how can energy awareness help us.
Well, if you are aware of what's around you, you can utilize it, number one, and also you can be aware of if you don't want to utilize it. So it's like if you're jumping into a pool of water, you can either swim or sink. So you can use it to propel yourself forward, or you can just like, oh my God, I'm drowning in this. So awareness is really good of what's there, and most of us just experience things as space around us, but it's actually energy. There's energy everywhere. There's energy fields around you. There's energy fields around everything that is around you, and this energy directs a lot of your responses and things that you don't even think you're affected by. So if you can align with that and you can use the energy to move yourself into the direction you want to go in, then have a lot more energy and you're ahead of yourself. So you become unlimited actually.
Become unlimited. I really like that, Joanna, and I think this conversation is going to be relatable to basically everybody. It's ageless, right? So I wonder if you could come up with sort of a, just to get everybody on the same page, if they've never heard of this and they're starting out, somebody else might have heard of it and read some books, it's probably a big mix. Can you give us maybe just like you can make it up, like an everyday example of somebody noticing energy going a certain way and tapping into it or aligning, as you say?
Yeah, I think we all know what it feels like to be stuck and we don't know what to
Yes.
do.
Yes.
And feet are glued to the ground and we've tried everything and nothing really works. And now it's like, am I, not good enough for this, or am I blocked here, or is it simply that your energy wants to move in a different direction? So you have this idea which comes from maybe your education or your upbringing or so, that you want to go into a certain way, and it's not really your mission to do here. And in the olden days, we looked for the spiritual to guide us and to help us and to lead us, not, what is it? Not my will, but thy will. That's a really good sentence, because my will is often very limited, because I don't know what's going to happen next and I don't know what's behind the next corner. So when we surrender to, the energy that makes up the universe, we have access to all that information. So at the moment when we surrender, things open up. And as long as we fight against them...
I'm sorry, Joanne, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
But if you push against the wall, that's resistance. So that wall will become bigger and bigger and bigger and stronger. It's just like if you wrestling with somebody and you train and train and train, you both become stronger and stronger and stronger in that resistance. So resistance is a good one to just surrender and throw out. And the other thing is that we often, when things don't go right, we feel like we're the victim of whatever is happening in our lives. Like, this can't work because the other people are not cooperating, or so. That's a really good one. We're all familiar with that one. But it is our world. So if it happens in my environment, it's personal, it's mine. It doesn't matter if it's a business issue or a personal issue. It's all personal, and it's all part of your internal growth. So if something looks like that can turn us into a victim, instead of allowing us to sink into that big muddy hole of victimhood, we can just say, oh wow, there is something for me to look at that can get me to grow and to heal something inside myself so that I can come out bigger and better. And I think when we look at everything as being for us, like, everything is a gift for us. Even the really difficult things, or maybe especially the really difficult things. And with young people, they often haven't experienced that much yet. So they're still seeking for always the next good thing. But if we only had sunshine, there would be no plants and no life. We need those rainy days. We need the earth to get nourished by the hardship or the drenching. And it's the same in life. We need both of those. They're both part of making us as amazing as we are, or as we're going to be. And so to always want to be happy, to always want to be successful, to always have money coming in, is not only unrealistic, but it's also not really in your own favor. Because it keeps you from reinventing yourself, from thinking and growing. So eventually that will get very stale. And then, we come up with challenges that may not even normally be necessary. But if we welcome everything into our lives as something positive, something we can use, then we don't fall into that muddy hole of victimhood. And we become that person that is always happy, actually, in essence. And so instead of saying, oh, this person did that to me or so, we can just say, well, this person threw me an energy ball. Now, what am I going to do with this ball of energy? Where am I going to use it? Am I going to just toss it back, toss it somewhere else, or am I going to use it to light up a light bulb? And in that case, if we become aware of the energy behind all actions and things happening, we become much more calm and peaceful and joyous in our lives.
Oh my gosh. I tell you, Johanna, of course, you're, as they say, preaching to the choir here, because, and for me, that's such a big shift. Reminding myself, of course, at a fabulous 59, you tend to kind of land in this place, I think, anyway, but that life happens for us, not to us. I love that. I can think of an example that's sort of, not yesterday recent, but not 10 years ago, where there was a person at a former workplace who was in a position of power, and she was very unkind. She had a moment of being very unkind to me, and in front of people. And I remember it really bothered me, and I don't get bothered easily, and it bothered me for like 3 days. Like, I was trying to make sense of it, and I was really trying to make, like, and I knew it obviously was mostly about her, because it wasn't provoked by me at all. Jealousy, who knows what was going in her head. But then I went on a walk in the woods, and just like you're saying, I really, and I'm not saying it was easy, because it was way worse than I'm making it sound. And I came to this thing where I was like, okay, there's some kind of something going on with the higher power that this is somehow in my best interest. This is somehow happening for me. And it also helped me to be less angry at her because I realized she was kind of a character on the stage and part of the plot, part of the storyline. And that really helped me to, and as it turned out, of course, when you're in it, it's a tough sell, right? But later, when you look back, that moment, which is a few years ago at this point, was the catalyst, though I didn't know it at the moment, for turning me into the entrepreneurial track. I realized in that moment I was done, but I didn't know it.
Yeah, it's like the parents, birds throwing their young ones out of the nest.
Yes.
We often need that push. I mean, I was at a place once where they do it all at the same time. The birds push their baby birds down the cliff, which is a very tall, several hundred feet cliff. And before they hit the water, they have to know how to fly. But the thing is, they do it all on the same day. And it is so loud because all these baby birds are screaming in fear when they're tossed out of the nest. But then it turns into this massive amount of young birds flying. It's really quite amazing, but often we need somebody to give us that kick in the rear to push us forward. And that usually comes through a very special friend or somebody we might view as an enemy, but really it isn't. It's the
Right.
loving parent pushing us. And
Right.
I don't know, I wish I could give credit here, but I don't know who did it. But I read about this woman. She said, she says to everything that happens, isn't that wonderful? And I like that so much that I have that hanging on my front door and some other places too in my office. Whatever happens, her first response is always, isn't that wonderful? And then she
You
thinks
said that
about
to
it.
me when you did the
Yeah. Yeah, it's just, it changes your life when you start looking at it that way. So you get out of the fight and flight mode and you go into the, wow, I'm a winner.
right.
You know, my car was just repossessed. Isn't that wonderful? Or something like that.
Something better.
And
It sounds very Mother Teresa, but I don't know.
yeah, I don't know who actually said that, but whoever, thank you. But it just immediately changes your energy. And when your energy is lighter, then your response is better. So we have a choice. We can react, which is
Like that.
usually a low energy. So we react as a fight or flight thing. That's a reaction. That's from our animal past instinct kind of thing. But hopefully we have grown a little bit since those days, and now we have thinking capability and loving capability on a different level, and now we can actually respond. So if you were able to think before you respond every time, the your whole life would change. It'll become really wonderful because you now can take a breath and say, okay, what is this telling me? That's really the question. Something happens. What is this telling me? Like, where do I need to respond different, work on myself, align myself better? And then you respond. Or I think that was Glenda Green in her book. I don't know the title of the book anymore. She says, be the love that you are, always. So you can ask yourself, if I was 100% love, how will I respond? And a lot of times you respond totally different than you would if you were in fight or flight.
Right.
Because if you are just love, you care about that person.
Right.
And I recently had that with a family member who was, very passive aggressive and weird. And my initial reaction was, fight or flight kind of response. I don't want to repeat that here. But I stopped myself right away and I thought, like, no, this is a person that has issues. And well, all she needs is, somebody to be kind to her. And so within seconds, all the tension from that was gone. And everything went back to normal and nice. But the other side to it is the fight or flight makes us feel powerful. You know, like if you yell at somebody, you feel that rush of power.
Right.
Which is
Truth.
also, it's a good feeling. So we feel powerful when we are better than somebody else, when we knock them down. And, guys really like boxing, which is a sport I'll never understand. But it's that power. I'm better, I'm more powerful. I am, that is also, I put that with the fight or flight. It's a very basic instinct. And if we need that power to feel good, then we clearly have not tapped into our inner power.
Right.
I mean, if you fight with somebody or you do a competition for fun or so, that's a different thing. But if you want to always be the aggressor because that makes you more powerful, we see that in politics a lot. That is, no matter what country you're in, that's a big thing because, if I have you all under control, I'm more powerful. You will not see that from like a Buddhist or a guru or a truly spiritual person because they feel powerful. They don't need to overpower others to be powerful.
Right.
So that's also an energy thing. So you become aware of it, and I don't know, you probably much better than I am, but there are days when you just want to pick a fight with somebody because you're grumpy. I mean, speaking for myself, so wake up grumpy, don't want to deal with anybody, and anybody that comes across my path, I feel that itch to let me just pick a fight. But what I'm really doing at that moment is I'm feeling grumpy with myself, I'm low on energy, and I think that if I can pick a fight with you today, I'll feel more powerful. I have my energy back and I can go do my day, and usually that other person then is depleted. So that's an easy way to siphon somebody's energy. Pick a fight with them.
Pick a fight. That's reminding me of I read a book by Pima. It was she's a famous Buddhist.
Shodron. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Something peace. I don't know. It was really good, but she talks about the Sanskrit word shenpa that stuck with me because that's that feeling that you're saying, Joanna. And I don't know that there's necessarily an exact translation in English, but it's basically that. There's a mosquito in here. It's basically that feeling that you're saying, like, so somebody gets snarky with you, like that colleague I told you about, really snarky,
Yeah.
maybe even an amped up snarky. It's that urge to just spit venom back at them, right? But the thing is, if we actually cave into that urge, there's a half life for it. Like when we react, in the end, we feel that power, like you're saying, in the minute. But then after that, we don't feel so good. There's a half life to it.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, exactly, because that power it's like putting, gas into your car. You use it for a few minutes and then you're on empty again. It's that kind of power. It cannot sustain you for any really long time. And you feel that emptiness right away again, at least, if you're moving around. But if you figure out that you're part of this universal energy and everything in the universe is part of your energy, then there is no lack. You don't need to fill up at the gas station. It's always there. And when you have that and you're established in that, then first of all, you do not need to manipulate others for your energy because you have more than you can ever use. And the other thing is that you also are more in tune with what's the right way to go here. Especially when you're looking at business, you're looking at what is the right way to go here. Where, I have these 3 ideas. Which one has the most flow to it? When you become more sensitive, And when you become more sensitive, you can see the fine nuances, and you can tell where, where's the good place to go, where do I start, and just notice, okay, well, this is where I thought I should start, but maybe that's not where I want to go with my business right now. Maybe I need to do something else first. And then when that, just had somebody I was working with who's in a career shift and starting a new business, and she had all these ideas, and people have recommended, do this training, do that, to add to everything. And then, we sat down together and just said, so what is it actually you want to do? Where do you want to be in your life, with yourself, with your peace? Where is your peace? And where's your joy? And where's your happiness? And within moments, it just narrowed down to one thing. And then it turns out that there are other things, other trainings she can add instead of years of training and get to the same place. Mm-hmm. Because she already has, a ton of degrees and stuff. So then after that, it was actually pretty fun. It turns out that training that she decided on is inexpensive and coming up in a couple of weeks.
Of course it is.
And she signed right up for it. And so it just, spitballed from there to the next, and all the doors just flew open because she got that clarity, and she calmed down enough to feel that sensitivity and peace and connectedness. For the doors, they were always open, but for her to actually see them.
But she can see
line
them.
Up.
This reminds me, Johanna, I actually have a friend who did his whole dissertation on synchronicity. But the book that Matt McConaughey wrote about green lights, because if you saw that once this switch is turned on, like this awareness that you're talking about, and you're talking about this client, once you're kind of, I think you said, become sensitive to it. Once you're aware and you become sensitive to it, you can see the doors, that you can see the green lights, and it becomes so obvious, which way to go and who to talk, all the things. Once you're paying attention.
Yes. And sometimes, you feel kind of stupid because you've known it all along, last 20 years of struggles. I could have done it right away. But that's not true, because you internally weren't at that point yet.
Right.
But we also can avoid a lot of struggles by actively going inward, or going to, and, every religion has that centering, that moment of, whether it's prayer, meditation, or, I don't know, flower arranging. Somebody posted today somewhere as a way to focus, calm down, and become still so you can hear. Most of the time, we're not still enough to hear anything. And we run, and, we're bombarded by the media and social media, especially, all the time. Do this, be this, do this, be this. And that gives a lot of anxiety, and it causes, I think, a lot of mental illness in people now. Having that constant anxiety and pressure, and forgetting about that, becoming quiet, so you can actually hear that you own the universe, instead of running after things that are yours.
Oh my gosh, I absolutely love this. And so it seems like, well, you and I are definitely on the same page. And what did you say? Or think before you respond. Maybe now, does this lead us to, Joanna? Does this lead us to what does it mean when you say quantum shifting? Tell us what that is, if you don't mind.
Yeah, well, quantum shifting comes from quantum physics, of course, which says nothing is real until observed. We're all moving particles. And for me, and I always say that the best thing was in high school physics, when they told us that if you took all the empty space out of the atoms, you could put a huge container ship into a matchbox, and it would have the full weight of the container ship. All the rest of it is actually just empty space. Or what I think is the universe. All the rest is the universe. It's your energy. It's what is there, or it's the divine. But that container ship brought the size of the enormity of it to me. And I never forgot that. So if we're all these moving particles in empty space, then we can also have a phase change. Water can become steam, it can become ice, and back to a solid bucket of water if it rains. So we can have different stages of essentially the same thing. So we're not becoming somebody different, but we can allow the molecules within our life and around us to rearrange themselves to a different mindset. So if I say I'm here, but I want to go to this new place with my mind and with my business and with everything, I can say I want the molecules to arrange themselves differently. And with that, you can allow that to take place. But once that takes place, of course, we cannot stay in the old space and be in the new space.
Right.
So that's a pretty big shift with people. And when that shift happens, I'd say there's several people that go, that's not what I want, get me back, and they go right back and hold on to what they previously, where they were. Because it's scary. Well, it's just molecules that are moving. So you can go backwards, or you can move forward into the new and the exciting. But the old stage, to fully get into a new stage, the old stage has to be left. You can't be water and ice at the same time.
Right.
You can either be the warm water or the cold ice. Which, is maybe not a very friendly example for people that like warm water and don't want to be cold ice ever. But that's just the phase change that you're doing. So if you want to move and if you want to transform, you can help it by letting go of the old, by allowing that to, disappear so that something new can be formed.
Well, that's fantastic. And I know we've got, can maybe share a concrete example, if you will. I know we have another friend in the mastermind group that his whole thing turned around. We could share something like that without any identifiers, obviously. And something very similar happened with me when you did that whole thing with me. So I wonder if you can come up with a concrete, even if it's hypothetical, Johanna, a concrete example to maybe with the profession. That seems like it's a pretty clear example, but whatever you like, where people can understand leaving the old. I think probably a relationship would work too, but leaving the old and then completely leaving it behind you. And then some of the magic that happens once you actually step into on the mat.
Well, I can say with one person that, I had several people come to mind. One woman who just was in a bad relationship. And this is actually kind of really interesting. She was in a bad relationship and she was just, the housewife, mother, unappreciated kind of person. And when we worked together, I said, well, what do you want to do? What, you just complains about everything being not right, but what do you want to do? And she said, okay, so I had an idea of work that I wanted to do when I was younger, and I think that sounds really interesting. And I said, well, so why are you not doing it? What is holding you from it? Oh, I'm so busy, being everybody else's servant. And I said, well, there's so many hours in the day. You could do both for a little bit, and then you can make your decision. But it doesn't always have to happen so fast. And she went, 2 weeks later, she went back to school. And she started with a class load that she could handle. But she went back to school and she, within a year, was a completely different person. Mm-hmm. So it just needed that one moment of clarity. What do you want to do? Where do you want to actually be? If this is not working for you, do you want to stay complaining about it, or do you want to ask what it is? And then another example, of actually two more that have to do with business, was somebody that was really working hard on a business, and the clients didn't show up. But and this is not just the beginning when you have to build your clientele and all that. So she was at it for a long time, and the clients didn't show up, and she felt exhausted by all that. And so we looked at that, and I said, well, it looks like this path is not working.
Right.
But to me, things show up in pictures. So I said, well, maybe there's just a detour. Maybe this road is closed, but maybe there's a detour that will get you to the result that you're envisioning. And also, within 2 days of looking at that, connections called, things opened up, other people were talking about it, and that road started to open up very fast, that detour road, and made a huge difference. And then the person that you meant wanted to go out on their own. I think that's who you're thinking about.
Yes, I am.
And building his own business instead of working for a company. And we did a quantum shifting, and I, even joking, I said, are you sure, you want to leave this corporate job behind and go out on your own? He's like, yes, of course. And so I'm totally sure. And did that, and the next day I think he got fired or let go.
And he was happy. He was so happy. He got his pink slip because it was similar to what you did with me, Johanna, right? Because we can hang on. Maybe it's the paychecks, maybe it's the comfort, maybe it's the people there, maybe it's a combination of all those things. And I thought I thought I'd mostly moved on, because I don't think it's we are or we didn't. Like sometimes we can be working at it, but then when you did the thing with me, I was just like, done.
So sometimes you can really let go, and the nice thing about transformation is it's a given. We cannot ever stay the same, but a lot of times we recreate the same situation over and over and over and over and over again. Instead of just using that natural transformation to create new and different. Because as human beings, we're used to routine, and we're afraid of the new. So those are the two big blocks that are in our way. And if we are aware of them, then we can say, okay, I'm going to let go of the old because I have to do that anyway. It's not even a choice.
Right.
And you don't have to recreate it, and I'm open to the new. And I'm not afraid of the new, because it'll come anyway. I mean, we're not going to live forever. Anything we own is not going to be there forever. Everything is temporary. So instead of fighting against that, and it's kind of sad that society has so much moved into holding on. We do it with the facelifts. We do it with we have to hold on to our youth. No, we don't have to hold on to your youth. There is some real value in being an old person.
Oh, definitely.
And no amount of Botox is going to make you live longer. That's, it's not going to happen. But, we all know this, men that marry much younger women because they feel like younger, but when you talk to them, then they're always stressed because they now have to be younger too.
Right.
You have to show up, while when you with somebody that is sort of on your level, life is easier.
Right.
Because you're sharing that experience. But I think that's just a sad development, that holding on to illusion rather than becoming the explorer of the new.
I love that. Holding on. That could be a Johanna quote. Holding on to the illusion rather than exploring the new.
Becoming an explorer.
Said, Johanna, right? Go ahead, go ahead. Explorer of the
Yeah,
new. Explorer. Because, like you said, it's happening anyway. So the
yeah,
resistance just prolongs things, and it's like a wrench in the wheel, right? Carl, it was Carl Jung, I believe, who said, "Resist whatever we resist will persist." Right? It just gets in the way like super glue, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Well, this. Go ahead.
No, I'm just agreeing with you. That's how it
Oh,
is.
yeah,
So
because you had.
if we embrace nature, we're
Mm,
happier than if we fight against it. Because as we see
hundred
when these
percent.
hurricanes and stuff like that happen, yeah, nature is going to win. There is no doubt about it. If nature wants to win, it's going to win. It's just being kind to us for the last few thousand years.
No, but it's really true. I mean, when there's some kind of, I don't know who said it, but there's some kind of joke out there. Like, if you want to make God or the universe or higher power, however you call that, if you want to make, let's say, the universe laugh, tell her your plans.
Yeah.
Because it is all ridiculous. It's going to unfold how it's going to unfold. I mean, it's such an illusion when we just dig our claws in because we don't want change.
Yeah, and the thing is why, often or why it's really important to have other people or other influences around is because it's hard to see ourselves. We can't be objective when we look at ourselves because we're the subject. There's no way around it. You can look in the mirror, it'd still be a subjective kind of image.
Hmm.
But the world around you will mirror who you are. So if you have a lot of angry people around you, you should look at your anger. If you have a lot of, you know, stressed out people, look at your own stress level. And just keep using that. But, it's also good to have a mentor, have a coach, have a friend that can look at you objectively. And especially with business, when you struggle with business, I mean, I don't know, but you ever notice how fast you can talk yourself out of any kind of little insight that comes? It's like, yes, you should do this. Oh, no, that doesn't really work right now. And so we have all the excuses. That inner critic voice jumps into action before you finish thinking the thought, and it's going to tell you, no, that's not really a good idea. So instead of, like, let's say when you want to leave your business and you want to go out on your own, that voice that says, no, you know what you're getting here, you can deal with the stress, you can deal with the unhappiness, but at least, you get that paycheck and you can feed your family and all that. So that voice is very loud. But the other voice is, then drowned out by it. I think most of the time the universe nudges you a little bit. It doesn't scream at you at first. It nudges you and it nudges you, and then all of a sudden, like, bow, you have a heart attack. That's a scream. You were in the
Right,
wrong situation. You were way too stressed. And
right.
you ignored me for this long. So now, you get slapped with something like that. Which, again, if you respond in a way where you listen, then the outcome is not necessarily as bad as you expected normally. That our response to any event will affect the outcome. So if we get the learning right away, the outcome doesn't have to be as harsh as if we need to have another push to,
Right,
to get
right.
it. So when we have a decision to make and or we're unhappy at something and we find ourselves complaining all the time, what I tell people, and especially also young people, like even teenagers, if you have a problem that is so big that it's consuming you, pretend that your best friend has that problem and give that best friend advice. Just put that whole story on the best friend and give that best friend's advice, because you can hear your own advice. So being being a counselor or having been in that field is really good, because giving people a lot of advice helps you listen to your own advice and grow from it. So it comes with a benefit. But we all have that ability to give somebody else advice, and we actually like telling other people what to do. And so here we're having that option to listen to it at the same time, if we don't have a coach, a counselor, a mentor, a spiritual advisor in our life that will help us see past our subjectivity.
I think that's really dynamite advice, because, as they say, we can miss the forest for the trees when it's ourselves, when it's just too close. Well, this is probably a wonderfully organic spot to wind things up, and Johanna's done an amazing job of discussing universal awareness, right, and all the different energy, kind of transactional stuff that's going on, to be mindful of it. And once the awareness is turned on, we can be more tuned into it, and just so many other things. I wrote down a lot of notes just now. So now, Johanna, before we sign off here, I know that you have a book out called The Transformation Promise. Yes, want to hold that up for us?
Yeah.
Do you have it right there? There it is, The Transformation Promise. Excellent. And what does the bottom line say?
It's a book about love, healing, and the flow of life.
Excellent. Awesome. And then the workbook is 28 Days to Love, Joy, and Prosperity. There you go.
And that is if you need help sticking with it on a daily way to actually change some habits and create some new choices in your life.
There we go. Excellent. And so, Johanna's website, all this information is going to be below, by the way. So if you don't catch it right now, it's all right. QuantumHeartField.com, right?
Yeah. Yes, that's it. QuantumHeartField.
There you go.
.com.
So .com. Now that will all be under there anyway. So if you feel like you want to reach out to Johanna for more information, or for some, coaching or anything like that, then I'm sure she'd be very welcome to that. And so I would like to say a big, huge thank you to Johanna Derbolowsky for spending your life minutes in this way to be with us, because we are really so, so, so grateful. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Kimberly. I'm very grateful to have been here and shared that time with you.